across the Everglades. Talk about dangerous territory.
Well, yeah, like a pilgrim going over foraging your own way.
Heard anything. I saw her earlier, but
I really don't want to start everybody here.
My mom was a banker down in Miami, so she would tell me all sorts of stuff. Yeah, so she would tell me all sorts of stories about the other stuff.
So my offices, because I moved the perfume company down to Miami, that's why I was down there. We're at the airport, actually at the end of the runway. Yeah, well, that's what we did. We had to hire freaking cops in Miami. You could hire police.
Okay.
Our incoming cargo, because it was all perfume. The runway to our warehouse.
That's because we're rogue.
That's how.
Is this the final day?
So those were good years. I mean, it was. I mean, not actually. Hurricane Andrew was probably the best thing for my kids ever, because they got very special attention because they were the first ones back to the school district. So they literally had one-on-ones because so many folks never came back. Yeah, didn't come back from when there's total devastation like that. Oh no, it was bad. It was really bad. 30,000 homes.
Wild, 30,000 homes.
How are you? Good. I'm gonna jump right in if that's okay with you. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, good.
We have a new face here.
Yes. So Nasa is ill. So I'm sorry, you two haven't met.
Jennifer, nice to meet you.
So if you have council questions tonight, Jen would be the person to talk to. Good evening, everyone. So I will welcome the limited number of guests we have this evening to our City of Palm Coast City Council budget hearing this evening. It is Thursday, September the 7th, 2023. It is 5:15 p.m. and we are in the community wing of City Hall. So with that, I would ask you all to please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. Following the pledge, you are welcome to remain standing for a moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or pause for a moment. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Mayor Alpin.
Present.
Vice Mayor Danko.
Here.
Councilmember Hyder.
Present.
Councilmember Clufus.
Present.
Councilmember Ponteri.
Present.
All members are present.
Thank you. Public participation is next up on our agenda this evening. In order for city staff to be able to respond to your questions or concerns, please fill out a comment card with your contact information. The comment cards can be found on the table near the agendas or available from the communications and marketing director seated in the back of the room. Anyone wishing to speak may approach the podium, provide their name, and may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please direct all comments to the mayor and be concise to the point. Avoid delaying or interrupting the proceedings, and do not make any irrelevant, impertinent, or slanderous comments. Any person who becomes disorderly may be barred from making any additional comments and may be removed. And I would remind the public this evening that this is a budget hearing, so the most appropriate public comments would be those that were specifically related to our budget discussion this evening. But with that, I would open up the podium to the public. If anyone would like to address City Council at this time, please step forward.
Hi, my name is James Ward. Hello, everybody on the podium. I bought my first home here in 2004, 94 Boulder Rock Drive, and then I bought the property next door. And I knew when I was going to retire from New York that I was going to move down here and, build myself a new house. and then I would land in 94 and then move into 92 Boulder Rock. Well, in this interim of that, I bought another house on Beechwood, and when I bought my new home, I also bought a rental property, because I did a 1031 exchange. Now, this is my thing is that it seems like they're beating up the people that bought to invest here. I know that you get the homestead, and you get, you know, a lot of people are getting a break, but I just feel they were a little too hard on the people who are investing in our town, and now they put the taxes to a point where you're not gonna be able to collect the rents and that are due for the insurance, the taxes, and the, you know, the upkeep of the house and everything. So, you know, and I'm sure we've all noticed that properties have been on the market for a little longer than they were. I see houses on the market for 3 months now that haven't sold because of the taxes, the increase in interest rates. But I just feel where us as a city, we have to worry about this, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna out-tax ourselves, and we're gonna start creating those foreclosures again, which we don't want to happen in our town. So I couldn't make it here any of the other nights because I don't agree with the week that they picked. I really believe they should have picked next week to have their meetings instead of the week of Labor Day. You know, I didn't come back Monday. Not everybody rushes back Monday because Labor Day is over. Some people extend their vacations because they have Monday off and say, oh, good, let me take 4 days off instead of a whole week, you know? So it shouldn't be during a week of a holiday. And the 5:15, they said that normally is at the guys at the gate told me it's normally at 6 o'clock. Because I was like, 5:15, some people don't even get off work. So how could they be at this meeting? You know? Just common sense, simple things that we need to think about our own people that live in this town. I've loved Palm Coast. I used to go to Ormond Beach, and I loved Palm Coast, and that's why I bought here. And I still love Palm Coast, but I just think in the last couple of years, we really beat the investors up as far as price. And I know my 3 minutes up, but just give me one little sentence. A good friend of mine, she works at Ford, and she lived at 6 Zorlo, and she moved out of there. Now it's A and B unit, the same exact identical units, and she bought over in the L section, so she moved her homestead to the L section, and now when they put the taxes down, they made her taxes higher for Unit A than B. It's like she just moved here. No, she's owned the house all along. So why did you make the taxes higher for Unit A than B? They're exact same square footage.
So,
Common sense says it should be the same
so
taxes.
I appreciate that, and I will ask you to give your information to our Director of Communications, who will help you also make contact with the property appraiser, where you could also have that conversation.
I've talked to James
Yeah.
tons of times, and, you know, he
Because
just
that's where that
he-
kind of
He
happens.
just says everything's right. He's gonna tell you, I'm doing my job. That's all, what he's gonna tell you. I've talked to him for hours. I like him as a person, you know, but you're not giving me answers to solve the problems that we're creating in the future. You know, we're creating foreclosure things with raising the taxes so high, so fast. Like I said, I moved out of 94, I moved next door, they doubled my taxes. Come on, I could have went from 21 to 35, I would have been happy, but when you go to 21 to 4,000, that's a little aggressive.
All right, I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there other members of the public that would like to comment to City Council at this time? This is going to, no, is it about the budget? This would be the appropriate time.
Also, we should probably note that the city of Palm Coast taxes are going down this year, right? So,
We'll get there.
okay, just wanted before you left, make sure.
Not mine.
Yeah. Tax rate they are.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
consolidate.
no
'Cause
problem. Thank you.
The theme, this entire meeting is dedicated to the budget hearing this evening, so.
Okay, so then this is appropriate. Well, I apologize, I thought I had an extra second or two. I'm Anna Maria Long, Flagler Home Builders Association, 33-year resident of Palm Coast. So not only do I represent an organization here in town, and the many business owners associated with that, but I myself am a constituent. I reached out to all of you 30-something days ago, and I did not receive responses from all of you, and I do find that disheartening. I thank you, the three of you who did respond, and I know that I lost my father this month, and so I had some trouble scheduling, but I appreciate the communications that I had with the three of you. So I went, and I recently, yesterday, sent you my 5-year budget comparison. If you had a chance to look at it, you can imagine what went into it. I have a stack of papers like this that I used to compile all the data. Thank you to the city clerk's office for providing that information. So I had originally gone through those, the current budget items, and I'm starting to go through the revised budget. So my list is not complete, but there are a couple of items I wanted to point out. And obviously, I know you can't answer right now, so I'm just gonna run the list. Golf course, this is by each budget. Golf course, I noticed that property taxes were not paid previously, but they are in this year's budget. And I understand that health insurance is to go up 20% approximately, but I found a few instances where it's higher than that. Several instances it is 20%. And I do want to commend, because the budgets I looked at, there were definitely some cuts made, some changes made, and I do commend those who did that work. Parks maintenance, health insurance was increased by over 30%. On the Southern Rec Center, health insurance is doubling, but only adding 1 employee. The Aquatic Center, the health insurance is doubling with no new employees. The IT&C allocation for that department is up 50%. HR, the IT&C allocation is up almost 50%. Communications and marketing, the IT&C allocation is up up 50%. City manager's department, salaries increased by 30%, and it has, I think the full budget's doubled since 2020, I believe it was. And the emergency communications allocation's doubling, and I do understand that has a lot to do with the county, but doubling is quite high. City council budget, the citizens survey is going to almost double. Code enforcement, health insurance is up 30%, and the PPE and boot stipend is up 260%. Code enforcement, the emergency communications allocation fund is doubling. Fleet replacement allocations up 75%. Site development, health insurance is up 30%, and fleet replacement allocations up 70%. Building fleet maintenance allocation is up 55%. Thank you, and I apologize that I have to leave. I have the small children.
So, if you would, if you direct those kind of questions to the city manager, we'll try to answer them. I think a lot of them have a similar answer, and then a few maybe are unique answers. Would that be okay? And we understand the scheduling I'm sorry for your loss. So
Thank you.
We'll get you the information if you'll kind of direct it through the city manager. That way she can coordinate that with the various department managers, okay?
It's going to take me a few days to finish the
Yeah.
list. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address city council at this time? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment and fix my glasses, I guess. And we have a presentation, which is, my understanding is this will be a summary of the work that we have been doing for the last 8 months.
Yes, that is correct. We started this process in April. We have had several budget presentations, so this is the point we're at, is our first public hearing.
So 6 months.
So good evening, Mayor, Council, Helena Alves, Financial Services Director. I have Gwen Ragsdale with me, our Budget and Procurement Manager, and we're here to present to you the fiscal year 2023 revised budget and the proposed tentative millage rate and proposed budget for fiscal year 2024. As I stated earlier, this is our first public hearing, and we will have our second public hearing on the 20th. Presentation overview for tonight, we will be reviewing the general fund, proprietary funds, special revenue funds, capital funds, internal services funds, and TRIM. I would like to remind council and the public that all budget presentations and the supporting individual budget worksheets are available to the public on our website.
And Helena, just a question, and just to be able to answer the gentleman's question or comment. The schedule for the budget has been published for how long now?
So the budget timeline, I believe, is scheduled in February?
February? Okay.
Yes.
So we
And
don't,
it is available on our website.
right, but we don't maneuver. In other words, it's set in February and it never changes. We stick to that
We stick to the
timeline.
timeline,
Just
absolutely.
Want to get that on the record. Thank you. Go ahead.
You're welcome. So we will go ahead and get started with general fund revenues. There were no revenue changes from your presentation of August 29th. Ad valorem is the largest revenue source for the general fund, accounting for 63% of revenues. The city's assessed value has increased by 14.4%, with approximately 6% attributable to new construction. Assuming the rolled back millage rate of 4.5270, we would generate an additional $1.8 million in ad valorem revenue. State revenues account for approximately 14.7% of all revenues. The half-cent sales tax is projected at $4.1 million. The state revenue sharing is projected at $1.3 million, and the communication services tax is projected at $2.8 million. Charges for services account for 12% of revenues. This includes 2.3 for parks and recreation, 3.9 for internal services, and other is made up $485,000. Balance of revenues, excluding interfund transfers and appropriated fund balance, account for approximately 6%. Any questions on revenues before I move to expenses?
So let me just go down to City Council. Any questions at this juncture?
Not at the moment.
Anybody? Okay, so please proceed.
So this is a breakdown of general fund expenditures. Again, no changes from your August 29th presentation. As shown, the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2024 is $55.8 million, an increase of $3.1 million from fiscal year 2023, or 6%. Administrative services budgets are increasing by $183,000. There are no new positions requested in these departments. There are 3 full-time positions that are unfunded for fiscal year 2024, 1 in the city clerk's budget, 1 in human resources, and 1 in marketing and communications. The balance is comprised of regular operating increases as discussed in prior budget workshops. The construction management and engineering budget is increasing by $277,000, mainly due to council priority for neighborhood safety study. Economic development budget increasing by $118,000 due to several priorities, including the entrepreneurial business retention and expansion program, business recruitment program, and the REV, the Recapture Enhanced Value Grant. Planning budget is increasing by $259,000, mainly due to a request for a new community development director to be shared with code enforcement and the building fund. Other increases are council's priority for comprehensive plan and other operational increases. The code enforcement budget has increased by $259,000 due to its portion of the new community development director. The budget also includes reduction in contracted services, specifically as it relates to demolition, structural removal, fire hazard mitigation, driveway apron repairs, and wildlife management. Business tax budget was just moved from financial services and is now being included with the community development department starting in fiscal year 2024. The fire department budget is increasing by $302,000 mainly due to adding 6 new firefighters, offset in portion by a decrease in fleet allocations in fiscal year 2023 that were a one-time catch-up of $640,000. Law enforcement budget, providing for the enhanced services from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, is increasing by $831,000. There were no new positions requested for deputies. The Public Works Streets Maintenance budget has increasing by $541,000, mainly due to the transfer of 5 positions from facilities. Of the 5 positions, 2 will remain unfunded for fiscal year 2024. Parks and Recreation budget as a whole is increasing by $131,000. This budget encompasses Parks General, Palm Harbor Golf Course, the aquatic and tennis centers, as well as parks maintenance. There is 1 new position requested for the Southern Recreation Center. That is to support the new center when it opens next year. The aquatic center is decreasing hours of service, as well as seasonal hours were decreased for all divisions. Several repair and maintenance adjustments were made, as well as reductions in operation supplies. The non-departmental budget is increasing by $14,000. We are proposing a contingency for revenue expenditure fluctuations, as well as the value adjustment board adjustments as were done in the past. Are there any questions on general fund expenditures before I turn it over to Gwen to go over proprietaries?
City council members have no questions at this time, so please go ahead.
Thank you.
So we will start with a summary review of the proprietary fund operating budgets. The proprietary funds were presented and reviewed with council in great detail at the July 27th budget workshop and again at the August 29th workshop. There have been no changes in these funds from your August 29th presentation. Water and wastewater operating fund increase of 5% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget, mainly due to the increase in personnel and operating costs, not only due to growth, but also due to inflation, as well as 3 new position requests to include an inventory technician, a utility certified control systems tech, and a utility assistant manager. The water and wastewater capital fund is increasing by 3.5% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget. There are a number of contributing factors, such as a number of grants, mainly related to the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which include a combination of county funds and city funds, totaling approximately $8 million. This budget also includes approximately $9 million in state revolving fund loan proceeds for the completion of wastewater treatment plant number 2 expansion construction project. The stormwater management budget increase of 14% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget is due to both capital and operational increases. The department is requesting 9 full-time positions to enhance operational efficiencies, create depth, provide succession planning, meet additional regulatory requirements, and bring staff in-house rather than pay for outside services. These positions are a citizens resource and outreach coordinator, a stormwater specialist, 3 equipment operators, a maintenance supervisor, an equipment specialist, and a stormwater systems crew lead, and a temporary maintenance worker. Also included is a $2.3 million in new equipment as outlined in the rate study. The building fund is increasing by 2.5%. There are no new positions requested for fiscal year 2024. The increase is due to regular personnel and operational increases. The collection and sanitation fund budget has increased by 13.6% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget, implementing the new solid waste contract for residential services. Information Technology Enterprise Fund accounts for the fiber and cell tower revenues and expenditures. The decrease of 6.8% is mainly due to the decrease in capital outlay. This budget does include a half of FTE for an infrastructure administrator. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the proprietary funds?
Council members have no questions at this time.
So the special revenue funds. The community development block grant funds account for several programs, including housing rehab assistance to the community. The change for fiscal year 2024 is 3.8% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. The Community Development Block Grant Plan was presented in great detail to Council on August 8th. This is the budget to support the annual plan as approved by Council. The State Road 100 Community Redevelopment Agency Fund budget for fiscal year 2024 has an increase of 10% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. $900,000 will be to debt service and $1.3 will be transferred to other funds. The Police Education Fund is used for specialized deputy training. These funds are collected from fines within the city through the clerk of court and then submitted to the sheriff's office. The Disaster Reserve Fund is used to account for any federal assistance usually associated with hurricanes. Council has established a reserve to mitigate the potential cash flow issue that would be created between the occurrence and the actual reimbursement from FEMA. We analyzed the budget in the Disaster Reserve Fund as outlined in your July budget presentations and are proposing the transfer of $1 million to this fund. The Special Events Fund is funded by the recycling revenue from our solid waste contract. Staff has identified events and programs that will remain in the fund and have identified other events and programs that can be moved to other budgeted areas. This fund is increasing by 28% from the previous year's adopted budget. The Old Kings Road Special Assessment Fund budget is increasing by 274% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget. This includes $750,000 for a road study funded by grants and $500,000 for the design. The Streets Improvement Fund budget decreased by 9.2% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. This includes $6.5 million for street rehabilitation and renewal, which includes the $2.5 million transfer from the general fund as directed by council. The American Rescue Plan Act Fund budget increase of 37.5% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. This includes $6 million for the London Waterway expansion, $3 million for Fire Station 22, and $3 million for the water and wastewater centrifuge replacement. Does council have any questions on special revenues?
We have no questions.
Okay, we will now move on to the Capital Projects Fund budgets. Staff reviewed these in detail with council at the August 8th and August 29th workshops. There are no significant changes from the workshops. The Transportation Impact Fee Fund budget increased by 60% from the previous fiscal year's adopted budget. This includes $13.2 million for Matanzas Woods Parkway, $5.3 million for Whiteview safety improvements, $2.1 million for Old Kings Road widening, and $1.7 million for Belterre safety improvements. These are all tied to grants. There is also $3 million for Citation Boulevard improvements. The Town Center Transportation Impact Fee Fund for fiscal year 2024 is $800,000 for Royal Palms Parkway. The Recreation Impact Fee Fund budget decreased by 56.5% from the previous fiscal year adopted budget, which included the building of the Southern Recreation Center. The Fire Impact Fee Fund budget for fiscal year 2024 is $7.7 million. This includes $4 million for Fire Station 26, $3.6 million for Fire Station 22 replacement. The Capital Project Fund budget for fiscal year 2024 is $20 million. This includes $13 million for the Maintenance Operations Complex. As you can see on this slide, the focus of the Capital Projects Fund will be the Maintenance and Operation Complex, upgrades to Fire Station 25, and IT infrastructure upgrades. The Streets Improvement Fund focus will be on the pavement program. The Transportation Impact Fee Fund will include the Belterre and Whiteview safety improvements, as well as the Matanzas Woods extension and the Citation Boulevard extension. The Recreation Impact Fee Fund will focus on the Southern Recreation Center project. Utility capital projects include the wastewater plant number 2 expansion that is being funded with state revolving fund loan, as well as other system improvement projects. The Stormwater Management Fund includes several capital improvements that are being funded using both the state revolving fund and bank loans. The Fire Impact Fee Fund will focus on Fire Station number 22 and 26 design and construction administration. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the capital funds budgets?
No, that's a great view. Thank you.
No, go ahead.
We will now review the internal services funds. We reviewed these in detail with council at the August 8th and August 29th workshops. There have been no changes. The city has 4 internal service funds. Basically, this is how we budget for departments that provide day-to-day services and support to other city departments. The fleet fund is decreasing by 13.8%. This fund fluctuates depending on the capital purchases under the fleet replacement program. The facilities maintenance has decreased of 20%, mainly due to the transfer of the 6 FTEs, 1 to fleet and 5 to the public works streets maintenance. The emergency communications fund is used to account for the maintenance and replacement of the EMS communication radios. The increase of 56% from the previous year's adopted budget is due to the increased rental fee charged by the county. The IT Internal Services Operations Fund is increasing by 6.8% due to new positions requested, 1 project manager and a half FTE infrastructure administrator, as well as an increase in regular operating expenditures and centralizing software purchases. The Health Insurance Fund increase of 17.4% is due to regular cost increases. This includes claims, administration fees, stop-loss insurance, wellness program, and other related expenses. Are there any questions on the internal services?
I have no questions at this time.
This is a list of the requests for the new white fleet and equipment for fiscal year 2024. On August 29th, Director Matt Mansell presented a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2024 fleet program. The resolution agenda summary and backup had the details for each item being purchased. As you can see, we are also carrying 3 fleet assets from fiscal year 2022 and 34 assets from fiscal year 2023 that have not been received yet. Before we move forward, does council have any questions on the internal funds budget?
We have no questions.
Okay, I will turn it back over to Helena.
Thank you. So this is a big picture of all fund expenditures. As you can see, that all funds total approximately $357.7 million. This represents an increase of 9% from your fiscal year 2023 adopted budget. Water and wastewater utility account for approximately $130 million, or 36%. Capital projects, streets improvement, and impact fees account for approximately $69 million, or 19%. The general fund accounts for $56 million, or 16%. Stormwater accounts for $32 million, or 9%, and the balance of all other remaining funds account for the remaining 20% of the budget. We will go over the truth in millage. So this chart shows the history for the last several years for the millage rate, property values, receipts collected, and population. So the city has been experiencing an increase in property values as well as population growth. The fiscal year 2024 values are based on the property appraiser's July 1st valuation and assuming the rollback rate of 4.2570. As you can see from the chart, council maintained the millage rate between the years of 2019 to 2021 at 4.6989 and then reduced the millage for 2022 and maintained that reduction for fiscal year 2023. For fiscal year 2024, council further reduced the millage to the rollback rate of 4.2570. This is a look at the millage rate options. So your maximum millage rate as adopted was 4.2570. That is the rollback rate, and it's also your proposed tentative millage rate for tonight. Your next steps are to adopt the fiscal year 2024 budget and millage rate at the final public hearing on Wednesday, September 20th at 5:15 p.m. here at City Hall. We would like to remind the public where they can access this presentation and all previous presentations on our city's website, as well as last year's presentations for comparison.
So is there a tab on the, I have to remember, is there a tab on the landing page for the city website that will take you to the budget information?
Yes, there is.
It's
So
it's right up front, right?
It is right up front. You just click on that 2024 budget preparation tile, and it'll take you right to our worksheets and presentations.
Good. So I would obviously encourage everyone in the public to take a moment, or as long as they like, and go through all of this information, which has been available on the site in its various forms throughout the last 6 months, but in its most revised form for the last month, I would think.
Absolutely. So the August 24th budget as a whole presentation to council had
Okay.
all updated worksheets.
Very good. All right. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
I would just like to extend my gratitude thank you for the many hours of workshops and the relentless amount of meetings we've had. It takes a whole army to get us here, but thank you both and everyone on your team.
Thank you.
I absolutely agree. I want to thank all you folks for all your hard work. It is really good to see us do a complete millage rate rollback, which means this year, I don't have to drink antifreeze. So I feel very good about that. However, I do want to just caution. We tried to do this, this franchise fee, and that failed. And I sure hope no one here wants to try to do any type of fees or assessments or increases on anything else in the next several months. We managed to move this back and tighten our belts, and I think that's a good place to be, and I hope we stay there.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I know you ladies worked very hard on this budget, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
I echo the gratitude not only to you ladies and to our city manager, but also to all of the directors across the board who made cuts. I also am hoping that this is looked at in a positive way for the city. I know that it's hard to tighten the budget, but at the end of the day, we're all residents here as well. So as we're looking to make this a trend and not a one-year thing, I hope that we can start to just look at the budget differently all year round, rather than trying to address it, you know, at this period and make cuts at this period. So thank you to staff and to my colleagues for the hard work that went into this.
So it goes without saying, City Council has expressed their gratitude towards city manager and staff. So let me just reverse it for a minute personally. So this will be the third round of budgets that I've been through. And I will tell you this as an observation, that I want to thank each of my fellow city council members, because I think that this particular council has asked more questions and has dived deeper into the budget than any prior council that I've worked with. And I commend you for that, because it has not certainly been easy. The amount of time that you all have invested has been, you know, far and above what the calling is. So I do appreciate it, and I know the residents and the taxpayers of Palm Coast appreciate your dedication to the effort. You have now set a precedent. We have not raised the millage. We have not kept it the same. We have reduced. We have rolled back the millage rate, which is a good precedent from which to leap forward as we begin the next budget process, which starts almost immediately again. So I'm glad to know that that's the starting point that we begin from. Of course, I thank you for staff again. Of course. Those are my comments. Yeah, hold on, sir. I'm going to come to another public comment section in a minute, because I have to follow a certain script here, if you will. So wait till we get to the next public comment, okay? With that said, recess now. So I'm obligated by statute to recess the City Council and convene the State Road 100 Corridor CRA Board. So let's consider it convened. And Council, I guess I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read that resolution into the record for us. This is an administrative part of the budget process for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution of the State Road 100 Corridor Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Palm Coast, Flagler County, Florida, adopting the tentative SR 100 Corridor CRA budget for the fiscal year 2023 through 2024, amending the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget, and providing an effective date. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And now I can adjourn that?
I think you have to vote
Yep, we need to vote on.
on approving the
accepting budget.
resolution.
So, and does this require public comment? So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to open this item up for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this agenda item at this time? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment. I will come back to the dais. Are there any
I'll
other
go ahead and
discussion?
make the motion.
So I have a motion to approve from Vice Mayor Danko. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Pontieri. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed?
The motion passes unanimously.
Clerk has the count. Thank you. So now I will adjourn the State Road 100 Corridor CRA Board and reconvene the City Council meeting that we were just doing. So now I am required by statute to follow a specific script. So I will go ahead. And I start here? Within 180?
We read the resolution into the record, so maybe.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. This is a resolution establishing a tentative ad valorem tax rate for the city of Palm Coast, Flagler County, Florida, for fiscal year 2023 through 2024, and providing an effective date.
All right, so I'll go ahead and read my part now. So the background, within 80 days of certification of value, but not earlier than 65 days after certification, state law requires local government taxing authorities to hold a public hearing on the tentative millage rate and budget. This hearing was publicized via the trim notice mailed out by the property appraiser. At this hearing, the taxing authority will, 1, discuss the percentage increase in millage over the rolled back rate, if any, and the specific purposes for which the ad valorem tax revenues are being increased. Number 2, allow the general public to speak and ask questions. 3, adopt a tentative millage and budget. 4, within 15 days following the tentative budget hearing, the taxing authority shall advertise its intent to adopt a final millage and budget. The following outlines the required format and exact wording according to Section 200.0652E1, Florida statutes, for the adoption of the tentative millage rate and the tentative budget for the city. So how do I proceed with step
Mayor
1?
announces.
The highlighted section, Mayor, for
The City of Palm Coast proposes to levy a millage rate of 4.2570 mils. This is an increase of 0% from the rolled back rate of 4.2570 mils. So at this point, I would open the item up to the public and ask if there are any comments from the public at this time. Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment and move to step 3, which is to adopt the tentative millage rate resolution. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a millage rate of 4.2570 mils.
I will gladly make the motion.
So I have a motion from Vice Mayor Danko to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman, there seems to be a
By all
competition
means,
for
Hyder.
this. I have several seconds, but I'll accept the second from Councilwoman Hyder with pleasure. Is there any additional discussion? So I will go ahead and ask for a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Danko,
Hell yes.
Councilmember Hyder,
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontieri,
Yes.
Mayor Alfin.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
There we go. So we have adopted the resolution setting the tentative millage rate trim for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Thank you. And now I will move on to the second resolution, which actually is number 3 this evening. And council, if you would read number 3 in for me, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, this resolution is for the tentative budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024, and amending the budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast of Flagler County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, amending the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 budget, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Counselor. And just again, for the edification of the public, let me give you the background. The attached resolution proposes the adoption of the tentative budget at a total amount of $357,748,234. The attached exhibits provide the breakdown by fund in the fiscal year 2023 through 2024 column. This resolution also amends the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget as discussed during the budget workshops. The total revised budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2022 through 2023 will be $2,663,207,180 compared to the original budget of $328,187,636. The effect on the 2023 budget is a decrease of $64,980,456 for the fiscal year. The breakdown by fund is shown in the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 revised budget column of the attached exhibits. Within 80 days of certification of value, but not earlier than 65 days after certification, state law requires local government taxing authorities to hold a public hearing on the tentative millage rate and budget. This hearing was publicized via the trim notice mailed out by the property appraiser. At this hearing, the taxing authority will, 1, discuss the percentage increase in millage from the rolled back rate, if any, and the specific purposes for which the ad valorem tax revenues are being increased. 2, allow the general public to speak and ask questions. 3, adopt a tentative millage and budget. 4, within 15 days following the tentative budget hearing, the taxing authority shall advertise its intent to adopt a final millage and budget. The following outlines the required format and exact wording according to section 200.0652E1 Florida statutes for the adoption of the tentative millage rate and the tentative budget for the city. The following steps must be completed only after adopting the tentative millage rate, which we have done. So step number 1, the City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a budget with total appropriated expenditures and reserves of $357,748,234. Step number 2, I will open this item up for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would comment on this item at this time? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment. I will move on to step number 3, which is an action to adopt the tentative budget resolution. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a tentative budget of $357,748,234.
This is the first of 2 votes, correct?
This is the first of 2 hearings, that is correct.
Right, so this is not locked in stone tonight. We require a second vote, is that?
The law requires that we hold 2 hearings, that is correct.
So while we're on this budget and on this subject, I've got some questions I want to ask. I think and this pertains to the budget. I think we all received letters here on council and our city manager from Jay Livingston, the attorney representing the Old Kings Road Special Assessment District. And so I just want to clarify a couple of things from our city manager or from you guys or Mr. DiLorenzo. Did he leave the room? I'm a little confused about a couple of things with this SAD, this Special Assessment District. My understanding is that no money is to be allocated or spent until the SAD committee actually reviews that money. But yet we have money in the budget for that. And they haven't met in 10 years, is my understanding. My understanding is they are going to be meeting on the 14th of this month. But there's just some funds I just want to clarify, what are they for? Because I've gotten some questions, and I know you were on a phone call today, and I've gotten phone calls. And if we go and we look at GL 54527, we see a grant, a state appropriation for $500,000. I would like to know exactly what that $500,000 is for, since it pertains to this.
So that was a appropriations request during the last legislative session. So it's a project ran through FDOT. And that project specifically was at the intersection of Town Center, Royal Palms, I-95, and Old Kings Road to do a study to look at how constrained those infrastructure areas are and what we can do in essence of having the best course to improve traffic and safety at that area.
So that grant was for a study, not a design, but a study. Just want to make sure that, okay. But then we have in that budget thing, we have $750,000 for a study. So what is that for? And does that money need to be approved or reviewed by that committee before it should go into that budget?
So, Vice Mayor, I can maybe put in this context. Our CIP program mimics us projecting into cost. So the $750,000 was an outcome based on the project committee guidance from last year. So it takes 2 fiscal years, right, from the committee giving guidance to what we actually propose, in essence, of what you're noting as $750,000. And yes, you are correct. On September 14th, the steering committee is going to reconvene, and that includes, you know, an invitation to stakeholders or their representatives along the Old Kings Road Special Assessment District.
So, and then there's another $500,000 for Old Kings, and that's for design.
No, there's only one $500,000 in the actual budget. Again, that's a reflection of our legislative priorities that were granted specifically to that intersection.
So I'm confused because it says Old King Road design right before this, right under the 750 for 500,000. And I can show it to you.
And Carl, Cody, and Jason are convening, but it may be just a word
That's
that's,
why I'm confused, but there you go.
Yeah, we can't, hold on.
Pass it right
So,
along to there.
Vice Mayor, okay, we got to keep everything transparent and to the public, so let them come up so that everybody can hear the discussion. I don't want there to be a sidebar.
And I guess the other thing I want to ask
But
that,
let's work on one at a time.
okay, terrific.
Okay, so, yes, there's a $500,000 appropriation for the study. The study's probably gonna cost more than the $500,000, so that's why the $750,000.
Well, it's a $500,000 grant. for the
Grant,
study.
but it's probably gonna cost more than that. So the special assessment's gonna contribute roughly $250,000 for the study, because we're gonna be looking at the entire corridor. You know, when we reconvened, when we met with the district, we talked about utilities versus, or typically the section of the roadway along the roadway, because the roadway is 60% designed from Town Center up to Palm Coast Parkway. There's permits obtained. It wasn't constructed at the time because the funding wasn't available. And so we're at a point now where there's developments occurring along that stretch of roadway, and they're asking for utilities. They're asking to modify stormwater ponds from either dry to wet or locations. So the developers are coming to the city saying, hey, we want to make changes, but how is all this going to tie in? So we really need to go back, revisit the design, take it to another, the next level of design so we can accommodate the projected developments that are occurring. And so part of that's gonna be a study.
So what I want to understand then, are you saying the $500,000 grant for a study is what's in that 750 number?
Right,
So
it's in
we'll
that
be-
750
So
number.
that we're still looking at another 250.
Right, and then
for
we
that.
need to do some design work, because the first step is we need to do some analysis so we can take the design to to a further level of
So
design.
the other 500,000 is for design then?
Is to begin some design work.
Okay.
It's to
so-
update the design that's already been started.
So what I want to know as, if Jay.
And those are projected numbers. We put numbers in
Right.
there based on the available funding in the district.
right.
So we don't
But-
have actual cost yet.
What I'm concerned about in Jay's letter is no money in the fund should be allocated or spent until the committee has a chance to review it. So when they meet on the 14th, is that when they have their chance to review it?
So, Vice Mayor, you're referring to a letter received from an attorney?
Yes.
We have counsel here that is also current. You might want to pose the question there. Or if I can make a suggestion, there has been additional correspondence that you may want to read, or I can have you,
I haven't seen anything.
or
yet.
you can dig into it now.
I'm just curious, I just want to know that, because that committee's not met in 10 years, right? And from what that letter is stating, and I want to know if this is correct or not, it may not be. I know you put 4 attorneys in a room, you'll get 5 different opinions. But, we got 2 here
So-
sitting tonight, so we can
So,
get
so
3 opinions.
the question is, let me just help me. The question is, will there be any decisions made on the expenditure of any of those funds prior to the committee meeting? Is that correct?
Well, that's what, right. And
That's your question?
And my question is that I
But
mean,
let me do one at a time. So,
well, my question is, does the committee have the right to review this as it's claimed in this letter?
I think that's a legal question.
that really is a legal question, so I'm going to ask you so let me ask it first part. So, gentlemen, there will be no expenditure of any of these funds prior to your committee meeting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But
that's
they've
fine.
been allocated
I
though,
don't-
right?
You're worried about spending, right?
No, I'm worried about allocated and spending. That's how it was phrased in the letter. That the fund should not be allocated or spent. And to me, putting it in the budget, is that
Well,
allocated?
it depends on
That's
your
the question.
accounting terms. So allocated, so if your meeting hasn't been described in the budget so that we know where it is and what it is, yes.
So it's been
Allocated and spending in my world are two different things.
Right, and it's 2 different things that was listed
Right.
in that letter. Allocated and spending.
Right.
So by us putting it in that budget, allocating it, are we in violation of that SAT agreement?
So legally, you would be in violation by not including it in the budget because we can't not exhibit
And again, I'm just
exhibit
trying
those
to get
numbers.
an explanation.
And neither one of us are lawyers. So here's what I'm going to suggest. You can, let me suggest this because we do have another meeting.
Sure.
And I think this is the best use of time. If you will get with counsel, review the exchange of correspondence, I think it will be clearer, and you'll be able to pose your question succinctly.
Do you have something to add? You look like you do.
Okay,
I only wanted to make the distinction that there is a difference between allocating as opposed to preparing and adopting the budget. In the city council, via ordinance 2005-10 that established the Old Kings Road Special Assessment District, there's a section of that ordinance, 3 subsection A7, which states that the city council of the city of Palm Coast, one of its powers and duties is to prepare and adopt the budget for that
Right.
district. And
Okay.
then they can allocate the funds, but it's for the city council to actually prepare and adopt the budget.
Okay, I just want to make sure, I mean, we all got that letter. This is new to me. I've heard a lot about this today, so I want to make sure that we're responding to that letter, which I assume we will be, and that we're all not, that we're doing this correctly, that we're not creating a problem down the road or any type of legal situation.
If I may, I would ask that our city attorney individually, obviously, keep us apprised of those communications.
Well said. And the letter has already been responded to, just
We have it in our-
late today.
do we
I
have
don't
it?
think it's been distributed out yet, because I think the letter was sent when this afternoon?
Myself, I saw that the letter from
Yeah.
Attorney Livingston was received by me this afternoon, and then the city attorney, Nasa, had a chance to review the letter as well as the ordinance, as did I. And I don't know as far as responding directly to.
Oh, okay,
this.
all right, so I may be,
assume
okay.
when-
What do you mean? I'm not sure, but.
When we respond, we will all get a copy of that.
So let's, I think Councilwoman Pontieri is correct, so we're going to ask, I'm going to direct City Council to keep each one of us current on the communications involved with what you asked. Fair enough?
That's fair enough. That's all I want. I just wanted
Good,
those
gentlemen, thank you.
answers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We move then to step 4, which is my announcement. The public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and budget is scheduled.
I'm sorry, I might have missed did we vote on the resolution
No,
to
I'm sorry, I
adopt the
skipped down too
tentative
far.
budget?
I got interrupted, okay. The City of Palm Coast proposes to adopt a tentative budget of $357,748,234. So as before, that is my announcement, and I would ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
The Vice Mayor has made a motion to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Pontieri has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? Then I'll go ahead with a roll call vote again, please.
Vice Mayor Danko,
Yes.
Councilmember Hyder,
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontieri,
Yes.
Mayor Alfin.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
So I'm pleased to announce the public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and budget is scheduled for September the 20th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. at the Palm Coast City Hall Community Wing.
Thank you.
Okay. And now I will move on to agenda item H, which would be final public participation. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on the discussion from this evening's budget hearing? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment and move on to City Council. Are there any matters regarding the budget that we would like to bring up this evening? With your note in mind, so we will be,
Right.
I would hope that we would be updated as soon as tomorrow.
That would be great.
Correct.
I have nothing.
Nothing further?
I had one thing, and it's not to do with the budget, but it's not on the agenda. Councilwoman Pontieri had brought up that she was going to bring something up about Malacompra in the upcoming joint county-city meeting, and I saw the agenda, but there was no agenda item for that, and I thought that was, going to be an agenda item. Do you mind explaining a little bit more about your strategy or what exactly it is about Malacompra that you're going to propose to the group, just so that we're all aware?
So I haven't specifically come up with any proposal, obviously. I mean, I would need to get consensus from up here in order to do that. I've had a couple of ideas with regards to how we can get better usage out of Malacompra. I mean, essentially right now, you know, it's got, I think, a couple stalls as far as bathrooms concerned. The shower is questionable as far as it working. It's just not frequented as much as I think it probably could be. I don't know if it is more of a marketing thing that we could try to do with Parks and Rec and our communications department, or if there's some type of interlocal agreement that we could enter into with the county so that we could try to get better utilization out of it, or even if there's an annexation that's possible from the county to the city so that we can actually make Palm Coast have its own beach for its own residents. So there's a lot of different ideas that I would like to talk to the multi-municipality commission about. I simply want consensus from, or wanted consensus from this council to open up that door for discussion, because like I said, Malacompra is beautiful, and I don't feel it's being utilized to the best of its potential at this time. And I know that if that's a way that we can relieve pressure from Flagler Beach, in conjunction with more usage of Bay Drive, because Bay Drive has been made into a facility that I don't know a whole lot of people are aware of. So, I mean, that's the main, just to open up the conversation about how we can kind of work together to get better usage out of Malacompra.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
So in the spirit of the collaboration amongst the various municipalities, I know it seems like we may be stepping outside of our city limits, I understand that. However, the intent of this collaborative ongoing meeting was to discuss opportunities that might exist for all residents of Flagler County. I know that we're specific to Palm Coast, but the idea was to come together and talk about the various opportunities. You all have appointed Councilwoman Pontieri and myself to attend these meetings and continue with the discussion, and we certainly would bring back any discussion that's had regarding this particular project.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right, but that doesn't give carte blanche opportunity for you guys to propose things without running it past our council first, right?
Not
It just
any more
scares
than
me.
our ILA.
I hear you. Well, I feel you. The words annexation with Malacompra and Bay Drive, it's just, I'm over there all the time, and it's just, I'm just unsure of what the proposals were going to be essentially. The word annexation of Malacompra is just something that I'm not sure any of us would have agreed to before this discussion right here. So I just felt like we kind of opened the door fully. I was looking forward to an agenda item so we could kind of have a little discussion about it, but there is nothing on the agenda. And I just feel like the word annexation definitely wasn't part of the conversation that we had at the end of that 11 p.m. meeting that we had the other
Well,
day.
and that was part of it, to your point. I mean, that was definitely part of it. Here's what I will say. It's not a proposal. So I would never make any proposals on behalf of our city without speaking to council. But it is it's kind of a roundtable. Hey, do we have any ideas of what we can do? And as a representative of the city of Palm Coast, I do think that annexation should absolutely be on the table, especially since they need us for utilities. So while I would not propose officially something like that, I think that it is something that should be discussed amongst the municipalities and obviously the county to see if it's even something that's plausible.
So remind me, when is the next meeting of this collaborative group?
I don't think that we have it set yet.
So, because what I'm going to suggest is, based on the level that this conversation has taken, if it's possible that we could have an agenda item and formulate what we intend to discuss, or what we intend to discuss as a city at that meeting, I think it would be helpful to city council. Is that appropriate?
And I think that should be a consensus.
Just we're not brainstorming, at that meeting. I would rather if we could float it amongst city council. Again, city manager, does that work with the calendar? I'm not familiar with the dates.
Yeah, today, Mayor, it actually got formalized. I sent out to all of City Council the notification, and it is September 13th at 5:30, actually at the
So
Governor.
do we come together again before then?
No, we do not.
So,
And it was supposed to be towards the end of September, so that's a surprise to me.
And I'm okay, just as long as we're all aware of what exactly we're all on the same page. And I just know at the end of the last meeting, it was a tough time because it's going till 11 p.m. But I just wanted to make sure that it all gets flushed out, because I feel like those are very powerful ideas that we all have that could impact. I mean, our budget we just looked at, we went with the full rollback rate. We don't have necessarily anything in our budget as far as play to be able to take on that type of thing with our current budget, but those are everything you basically had said tonight. I wasn't sure what it was all encompassed, and I'm getting some feedback from pickleballers over there that just kind of trying to clarify what exactly the intent was.
okay. So,
And I can appreciate that. Just one more thing, just really quickly. For instance, when the mayor said something about TPO and some of the things that you all were talking about, obviously in my head, I always think, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? What's going to come back to council? Are we being kept in the loop? So I understand that I don't want to call it anxiety, but the inquisition as far as just wanting to be kept informed. Again, I wouldn't propose anything on behalf of us. This is more of a brainstorming, is it even possible? And is it something that we do need to even vote on? Because if I get to the multi-municipality meeting and everybody is like, that's not even something that is a plausible option, then it's not worth, really coming back here for a strong or serious discussion.
So I think you have a commitment from Councilwoman Pontieri and myself that we will bring back a full review of whatever the discussion, not just that item, but any other items that were discussed at the meeting, just like we would do at the interlocal agreement committee meeting as well. So we'll use that as our benchmark, because just so you understand, with the interlocal agreement committee meeting, Councilman Clufus and I together decided that we were not willing to vote or to move forward, even though we could at that meeting, until we came back to City Council to discuss it with everyone here. That's our comfort level, and I think that we all feel the same way about that.
Won't sell the cow for a handful of beans.
Never.
Thank you. Question on that.
Mayor, I apologize. I misspoke. I flashed forward to our next special hearing, which is on the 20th. We
Right.
actually have a workshop on the 12th.
Oh, even better. Okay, so there you go. So you'll raise that at that appropriate, good.
But I just wanted to ask a question. I go to that beach often. I love that beach. But that the showers there and everything, that's all the county's responsibility
It is.
now. It's not Flagler Beaches.
Right.
Right, so I'm not sure why we would annex it. I mean, the county should be able to take care of it, and the showers aren't good or whatever. They should be able to fix them, I would think.
Well, there's a whole lot of theory behind this thought, which could be more appropriate for the workshop.
Okay, we can save it till then.
Yeah, and I mean,
I just wanted to make sure it was county. It's
It
not
is county,
Flagler
it's not
Beach.
Flagler, but the county is a part of the multi-municipality commission, so
Sure.
they will be there, and I think that that's probably the most appropriate time to talk about it with them, in the sunshine. But, you're right, the county right now is responsible for it. The problem is our park and rec budget is larger than that of the county, and,
Yeah.
I think our parks candidly are better than the county's.
Sure they are, but
So I'm just looking at this as a possible opportunity to give our citizens its beach. And if it's not something that is obviously in the budget or that can be budgeted, this would be a very long-term thing, okay? I'm simply trying to take advantage of an opportunity where we've got people from all cities and the county together in a room talking about these things, and just trying to talk about the option.
I say annex all of Flagler Beach. And
No,
we'll get our job
okay,
done.
no, and that's not a.
How do you not make money at a
And that is
beach?
not a soundbite.
Yes, it is.
City Manager, did you need to conclude with anything?
No, thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Councilwoman?
Oh, I just wanted to add that I spent some time with some of my constituents earlier today, and I see here that we're closing out the 2023 budget and moving into the 24 budget, and Councilwoman Pontieri has often mentioned the need for jobs and growth here and commercial development. Well, that was a huge concern of my constituents today, so I'm hoping that moving forward into 2024, that we're able to accomplish this.
Thank you for that. And again, I'll just restate it one more time. I want to thank each one of you up here on the dais for the effort, the depth of study and investigation that you each have done in the budget this year. It's rewarding to go through a very difficult process and end up with a conclusion that we have voted on unanimously, and there was nothing easy about the road. I mean, I think we would all agree with that, but it is good to know that good government that cares about the residents and the pennies in their pockets is up here to oversee all of that. So again, I thank you for that. With that, are there any comments from council
Not at this time.
and city manager?
No, thank you, Mayor.
So with that, I
Motion.
have a motion to adjourn, and is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.